shadowy figures in the desert, from ancient times to modern. Today, we're doing the Djinn here on MKUSUAL. The desert wind howls through the ruins of an abandoned caravanserai, carrying with it the faint scent of burning sulfur. A Bedouin shepherd, wise to the ways of the unseen world, quickens his pace. He knows that the old ones whisper that when the wind smells of fire, but there are no flames, the Djinn are near. These are not mere ghost stories. Across the Islamic world, from the markets to the war-torn alleys of Baghdad, encounters with the Djinn are recorded not just in folklore, but in police reports, military dispatches, and medical journals. These entities of smokeless fire, older than humanity itself, continue to shape human lives in ways that defy rational explanation. Long before the first cities rose in Mesopotamia, before the pyramids pierced the Egyptian sky, the Djinn already walked the earth. Islamic tradition holds that Allah created three sentient species: the angels from light, humans from clay, and the Djinn from the very presence and essence of fire itself, a smokeless flame that burns without consuming. But their story begins even earlier. Archaeologists excavating the ruins of Ebla in Syria discovered 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablets warning of desert spirits called Utuku that could drive men mad. The ancient Babylonians feared the lurking demon that waited at thresholds, the Rabisu. When Islam emerged in the 7th century, it didn't invent the Djinn, it codified what desert people had known for millennia. The Quran dedicates an entire chapter to these beings, revealing startling details. Some Djinn listened to the Muhammad's recitations and converted to Islam. Others, like the infamous Iblis, refused to bow to Adam and became the Islamic equivalent of Satan. They live in communities, marry, have children, and die, but their lifespans stretch centuries. They're like interdimensional beings. Mm-hmm. And I looked up, I was like, when I was getting into this, I was like, what? How does this differ from demons? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So just to get it out of the way, here's some differences in the belief system. So Djinn versus fallen angels. Here's the hierarchy. One, what are they made of? As I already said, Djinn are smokeless fire. Angels are made from light. They are created for different purposes with different natures, governed by different rules. Their distinctions explain why Djinn are not merely Islamic demons, but an entirely separate class of entities with their own history, societies, and interactions with humanity. They do possess a physicality. They can eat, drink, marry, reproduce, and die, though they live much longer than humans. And they're also shapeshifters, capable of taking animal or human form, though often with unnatural features like backwards feet or glowing eyes. Fallen beings, on the other hand, are beings of light who rebelled. Djinn are earthly beings tied to a physical world, while angels or fallen ones are celestial. The sole exception is Iblis, or Shaitan, an angel or high-ranking Djinn, depending on the interpretation, who refused to bow to Adam.
This is saying they have free will. They can be good, evil, or neutral.
They can be different religions. They can be Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or atheist. They're just like interdimensional people. Some are righteous, some are wicked. Mm-hmm. They are tested like humans and judged in the afterlife. Meanwhile, the fallen angels don't have free will. The Djinn are masters of illusion and possession. They are invisible, normally unseen, but can manifest. They have attachments to places and objects, like haunting ruins, deserts, and sometimes homes, while fallen angels are pure temptation, working through deception, do not directly manifest, and they specialize in leading humans astray, like pride, despair, addiction, etc. A Djinn may haunt a house or appear as a shadow. A fallen angel whispers doubts. Djinn do face judgment, so they're just like it's like a separate race of peoples. Some scholars suggest aliens or UFOs are sightings of Djinn. Some suggest poltergeists, sleep paralysis. Islamic tradition blames Djinn for hitting sleepers, while fallen angels work in your mind. Both are dangerous, but in different ways. So I had to know, because I was like, what's the difference? It's just the same thing with a different word? Apparently not. I think it's interesting they have this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is saying the word spelled Jinn, Djinn, or genie.
Yes, this is where genies come from.
Okay, I didn't know that. This gives some types of jinn too. The shaitan they mentioned, a general term for rebellious jinn. Ifrit, usually depicted as fiery and malevolent, often found in deserts. Merid, often considered the most powerful, typically associated with oceans and wish granting.
Ooh,
So there's the genie.
is that why the genie's blue in Aladdin?
Maybe like Disney was onto some stuff that there's probably a lot of stuff that don't fully understand. Kids definitely don't. And then a ghoul. That's where the term ghoul comes from. A type of jinn that feeds on human flesh.
Ooh.
Think of them as desert-dwelling monsters.
I like that it's very fairy. They're not immortal, but they're like would seem to be immortal, you know?
Right.
So let's get into some encounters. When the veil thins, here's some historical little encounters with the jinn. The haunting of Harut and Marut in ancient Babylon. The Quran tells of two angels sent to Babylon to test humanity, but Islamic scholars whisper a darker tale, that these angels were actually mighty jinn who taught mankind black magic at the cost of their souls. To this day, occult practitioners in northern Africa claim to summon these entities through ancient Babylonian rituals. The Djinn king of Damascus, 1174 AD. The medieval historian Ibn Jubar recorded a chilling encounter of Sultan Saladin encountering a Djinn king in the ruins of Damascus. The entity appeared as a towering figure with burning coals for eyes. So that'd be one of them there, fire Djinn.
Ifrit.
And Ifrit.
Ifrit. I don't know how you say it.
So the entity predicted battles yet to come. So that tells you there's some kind of time. They have some relationship to time.
Yeah.
Saladin's imams drove it away with verses from the Quran, but not before it cursed the land. For 7 years afterwards, children born in that district had unnaturally large For 7 years afterward, children born in that region had unnaturally long fingers and teeth like needles. Okay. Ew. Gross.
Yuck.
There's a cursed mosque in Timbuktu, 1590. When the Songhai Empire fell to Moroccan invaders, their scholars hid priceless manuscripts in a secret mosque. The last guardian, an old imam, swore he bound jinn to protect the treasures. In 2012, when al-Qaeda militants tried to destroy the mosque, locals reported seeing black-robed figures with hollow eyes standing guard. Every militant who entered was dead by the morning, their bodies unmarked, but their faces frozen in terror. Yikes. Declassified U.S. Army reports from Operation Iraqi Freedom contain bizarre entries at the ancient ruins of Set Siphon. A patrol reported seeing humanoid figures moving through walls. Another incident describes a Marine firing his M16 at a tall, faceless entity that dissolved into smoke. Most disturbing is the account from a forward operating base near Ur, where night sentries constantly reported hearing whispers in dead languages, including Akkadian, a tongue not spoken for 2,000 years. Whoa. Here's a Reddit post by Phantom Drew. So I'm a grumpy old shit back in Fallujah for Phantom Fury in 2004. I ran with the Mortuary Affairs Group. We took over a potato factory outside the Cloverleaf heading into Fallujah. The fighting for those few weeks was intense. The morgue was full of dead insurgents. One morning at 4 a.m., I'm heading for guard duty on top of an extremely unstable Iraqi-made water tower. I turn my NVGs on and look around. From the top of the main factory where all the bodies are being stored, there are like hundreds of orbs of light just going up into the sky. I'm checking my nods. They work. It's not bugs or anything else I can explain. I think everyone kind of writes it off, but it changed my perspective on many things on many levels. Bad times equal unhappy souls. I don't believe in organized religion anymore. My father passed away. I think he protected me in combat and in life. The afterlife is some crazy shit. I try and live a good life. I treat people with respect if they deserve it. Okay, that's crazy. Here's what a user says. My great-grandfather was involved in North Africa during the Second War. And then a little later in Italy, and vaguely mentioned once that his company encountered a ghost of some type hucking rocks in their general direction while laying telephone wire through an abandoned village. So they get down on the ground when the first rock lands nearby because that's awful strange, and they know there are German troops in the area, and they're attempting to be a bit covert. Apparently, on the third or fourth rock, one of the other soldiers fired a burst of 3 or 4 rounds from the BAR in the general direction of the rock thrower. The muzzled flashes of which revealed to them 2 things. Firstly, a lanky sort of vulture-looking creature, but with arms and pitch black. Second, an equally hushed and prone group of Germans staring in its direction. So the situation turns pretty sour on them real fast, what with the Germans and all, and they exchange fire before ducking back into the foxhole. One of them said, but Pa didn't see it, that he saw these things jump some 40 feet in the air with a green flash of light before vanishing.
Just the
I like that they saw the Germans, but they're all just looking at this creature.
and they're like, oh yeah, and then they go back to
Okay. Back to the Riyadh possession case of 2019. Okay, Saudi medical journals documented a 23-year-old woman admitted to King Fahd Hospital speaking in a guttural, inhuman voice. Brain scans showed no abnormalities, yet she knew details of the hospital's 1983 construction, recited obscure Ottoman-era poetry, exhibited strength requiring 6 male nurses to restrain her. After 3 failed psychiatric treatments, an imam performed an exorcism. The entity, claiming to be a 900-year-old Djinn, departed, leaving the woman with no memory of the events. The Istanbul metro incident of 2021, security cameras in the ancient city captured footage of a pale, elonged figure moving through a crowded train car. Passengers seemingly unaware. The figure's legs didn't touch the ground. When authorities enhanced the footage, they discovered the entity's reflection didn't appear on any surfaces. Wow. In 2020, researchers at I like how the universities are named after their kings. At King Abdulaziz University conducted groundbreaking experiments with modified electromagnetic field detectors in locations with historical Djinn sightings. They recorded sudden temperature drops of 20 degrees Fahrenheit, EMF spikes with no electrical source, infrasound frequencies known to induce dread. That's a thing. The dread frequencies. It's like
bad.
That
Scary.
well, it's just that the dread sound, it deals with UFOs, it deals with Bigfoot. You remember the Russian the mind bacteria. Meanwhile, quantum physicists like Dr. Ahmed Hassan have proposed a radical theory that Djinn exist in a parallel dimension overlapping ours, explaining their ability to appear and vanish at will. I gotta know similarities between Djinn and aliens.
So yeah, this is like a high level of strangeness. It's strange. The strangest part is that they seem to know that they're mortal in a way, like they live and die, yet exist in these like in between places and have all these special abilities. Also, why would Allah create these?
Well, they have free will.
Yeah.
I mean, we have free will. Why would he create Hitler, you know?
Well, I mean, just like in general.
Oh.
Because he created angels.
Right.
And then created humans. And then this like in between, almost like a hybrid. I mean,
from a philosophical
go on.
From a philosophical perspective within Islam, Allah created Jinn like humans for the purpose of worship and to demonstrate the breadth of his creation, with the understanding that they, like humans, have free will. I'm guessing we just barely ever interact with the good ones. Because why would you? It's kind of like,
yeah.
How many good people go seek out angels or demons?
True.
It's always like magic practitioners.
Yeah.
So
they're already up to some questionable stuff, and then like.
So the good Djinn are probably just like going to work, going to their 9 to 5, raising. They probably live like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I understand what you're saying, like philosophically, like why, but I mean, it could be an overly human centric. It could just be a thing he chose to create.
I don't know.
I mean, we might be on the verge of cracking other dimensions, with CERN and stuff. What if we find some things we can mess with? What if we end up being like ghost to some other dimension?
True.
We could just as easily fall down this path.
This is saying the Prophet Solomon was given control over the jinn by Allah. Some were rebellious, but many were obedient and helped him build temples, palaces, and even retrieve hidden knowledge.
Okay.
They were servants under divine command. Folk tales from 1,000 days and 1 nights. I think that is a typo. 1,000 days and 1 nights. A traveler might free a jinn trapped in a bottle or cave. If the jinn is good and has repented, he grants the humans gifts, wisdom, and protection. That's like the genie story. I was also seeing that it seems like the genie was like a Western interpretation. It kind of put onto this. In some Sufi stories, a jinn scholar appears to guide humans in matters of faith or mysticism. These jinn are seekers of divine truth who admire pious humans. They're described as wise, calm, and invisible unless summoned with respect. The jinn who fell in love with a human. There are tales of romantic jinn who fall in love with humans, not always in a creepy or possessive way. Some versions depict jinn who protects their human lover, helps them avoid danger, and even tries to live quietly among humans. Guardians, mystics, healers, and wise elders are said to be accompanied by guardian jinn, spiritual allies, not enemies.
I looked up a paper from the Sapiens Institute that lists similarities between jinn and UFO encounters.
Okay.
There's possession parallels. There's characteristics descriptive of both, namely they fly or go into the water. There's abductions done by the jinn, and deception as a fundamental theme. It talks about Jacques Vallée, Passport to Magonia, Dimensions. John Keel, known for the Mothman prophecies, extensively delve into the deceptive acts of UFO encounters. Vallée emphasizes that UFO sightings often display tactics of misdirection and illusion, manipulating the perceptions and beliefs of the witnesses. This could just be another mask. The abduction phenomenon, commonly associated with extraterrestrial encounters in the context of UFO narratives, points towards fascinating parallels found in Islamic sources, where similar experiences are ascribed to the jinn. The abduction experience is subjective and can vary in its specifics from person to person. However, the unifying theme is that generally the abductee is paralyzed, taken aboard a craft by non-human beings, who then proceeds to conduct a variety of terrifying exams on them against their will before returning them back. Professor of psychiatry John E. Mack, in his book Abduction, challenges the lazy hand-waving that attributes such encounters to mass psychosis or hysteria, emphasizing the individualized nature of the abductee experience. Based on his research, he suggests that there's more to the abduction phenomenon. This perspective aligns with narratives from Islamic sources where individuals report being abducted by jinn. In one such account documented by Bayhaqi, 1066, a man recounts his disturbing experience of being forcibly abducted by jinn during the caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab. Allah be pleased with him. Yeah, I'm not going to say. One man recounts such an abduction. The man from his people went out one night to pray with his people, but some jinn abducted him and he went missing. His wife went to Umar and told him of her missing husband. Umar asked his people about him, and they confirmed that he had gone out to pray but had gone missing. Umar told the woman to wait for 4 years. When the 4 years had passed, the woman went back to Umar and informed him of her case. He asked her people, and they confirmed the case. He told her she could now marry, and she did, but her first husband returned and raised a dispute over the marriage. Umar said, "One of you disappeared for ages. His family does not know whether he's alive or not." The man replied, "O leader of the believers, I have an excuse." When asked, "What's your excuse?" the man replied, "I went out one night, but some jinn captured me, and I was held captive for them for a long time. Then some Muslims, the jinn waged an attack on them, fought them and beat them and took captives. They took me among the captives, but said, We see that you're a Muslim man, and it is not allowed for us to keep you captive. So they gave the choice of staying with them or returning to the family. I chose to return to my family. They set off with me by night. No one would hear anything to me. So it actually sounds like, from his perspective, the abduction didn't last that long.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was taken. There was a little battle. He's like, I'm a Muslim. They're like, okay, all right, we won't mess with you. You can stay with us. You can go home. He's like, I'll go home. And then that was 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess they're whatever this third thing is, like the fairies or the UFOs. I guess they might just be a manifestation of the third thing. Or they're their own thing. I'm trying to decide what I think about them. I don't. They sound very similar to skinwalkers.
True. Yeah.
I guess if I'm going to take the mythology at its face value, I definitely feel like something like this could exist. Something like this is almost more terrifying to me than like a straight up religious explanation. That there's just a third thing that's like way more powerful than us.
And like, why aren't they? I guess it said they have attachment to places, so maybe that's why they.
But we do too.
Would exist, and I just mean that's like why aren't there Djinn in America?
That, I mean, maybe there are, and we just call them.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be if this is a
Skinwalker. Does it's like that is a good example of a similar thing.
People see like portals and stuff at Skinwalker Ranch. This could be. I mean, we had talked about the whole mask hypothesis that they wear different masks to different people. So this could be just like the Arab mask.
Yeah.
That is a good question, though. Why aren't they? But I mean, if they're fairies to the Irish, skinwalkers to the natives, Djinn to the, but they all kind of have a similar trickster MO.
Mm-hmm.
It also might have something to do with like, there's different places on Earth where like gravity's different.
True.
I mean, this might just be like the area that this. I keep thinking like, okay, if some of them are good and some of them are bad.
Some are neutral.
Some are neutral. Some are atheists. So like, in their world, so let's say you're a Djinn, you're a little baby Djinn, and you're learning about the world. How do they? Like, we just assume like a genie, like, oh, I'm going into the other dimension now to mess with the humans. But like, do they require technology to get to us?
Or like an education on
an education, yeah, or some kind of like magic practice,
spiritual practice, yeah.
And if that's the case, if we're not just immediately accessible to them, if they're kind of just in their own realm and they figured out how to get to us first, then one, we probably would mostly deal with bad ones, because that's the type of people who go metal. Like the first people from the human race who are going to go into certain realm. I mean, other than people who do like certain like psychedelics and stuff, it's going to be like CIA agents.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a military guy. It's going to be the tricksters of the humans, the human tricksters, the CIA. They're the ones going and doing the scientifically controlled remote viewing. The occultists. So like those types of Djinn are going to be the ones that come to us using whatever technology or magic they have. So
part of me has this like idea that it's, I don't know, but is there like a cosmic evolution? Like maybe they started as something else.
Ooh.
And became, like.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously the Quran is saying, well, Allah they were there from the time of creation or whenever.
But everyone can filter this through their own.
Yeah.
If they have attachments too, I didn't think about this. So like the first human civilizations, like Babylon, like Babylonia, and like what's the word? Babylon.
Babylon.
The first human civilizations are like in that area of the world.
True.
So if that's the first time they like recognized human psychic energy or like broke through from their own realm, maybe they have some weird attachment.
There's like a nostalgia, because if they
or a sense of ownership.
True.
They're like, hey, this is like moon base alpha on this dimensional plane, like.
Because they like, okay, then they like become Islamic or they're atheists. So then there's like some type of record that they keep. or like a tradition.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like things that are parallel to human behavior. This is a weird phenomenon.
Maybe they... Okay, let's say that we as humans radiate, regardless of your religious practice, we radiate something into their realm, or they can see it, like call it an aura or a soul or something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they respect or believe in our belief systems based on that aura. You know what I mean? Like maybe they see us as a certain kind of powerful or a certain kind of wise. Like we might not be able to pierce that veil or play little tricks in their world, but they might see us as like very... There might be something preferential about our reality or what we are that makes them jealous or something.
True. How do they reproduce?
The Djinn jizz.
Maybe they just like big
Jizz with a D. Sorry. The jizz. Maybe they what?
Maybe they just like big milkers like us.
Well, you know, like
Maybe they're just like us.
some of the first UFO encounters, a lot of the people, a lot of the entities look like humans, and they said, we're from Venus, but we exist in a lighter, like a more ethereal dimension. It's a lighter, it's not as heavy. So there might be... All right, any final thought on the Djinn? I don't know what to think, bro. I really haven't ever read into this.
I kind of want to read that book from the Quran just to like see what they say and then go from there.
Okay. I bet we come back.
Yeah. This was interesting. Because I've just heard like Djinn, they're like ghosts in the desert. That's all I ever thought.
Yeah, I always thought of them as genies.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that they have a whole parallel world. Or maybe we just assume, you know, as above, so below. Good rule a lot of the time, though. Okay, thanks for tuning in. Tell us your favorite Djinn story. And it better not be the one with Will Smith.
We love you.
We love you.